Welcome into the Blurred Wire. It's your host, King Whale, and today we are doing our first trailer breakdown and look at for Superman, James Gunn's new revision of the DCEU. So what I'm gonna do for the audio only version, I'll skip right ahead to me reviewing it. I've already watched it a couple of times, but for the video version, for those of you that have joined via video, I'm gonna be watching it. You'll see it in the bottom corner and you'll just see my reaction to it as we check it out. This project has been, probably one of the most hotly anticipated ones because Superman is still one of the most beloved characters of all time, even though a lot of people feel like he hasn't quite been done justice. I'm one of those people that didn't hate Man of Steel. I think I liked Man of Steel. I think just what it ended up becoming ended up keeping it from truly reaching its potential. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and check out the Superman official teaser trailer. You can watch along with me and let's kick this thing off. Honestly, great looking trailer. I didn't really anticipate it to be bad, honestly. Like the main thing we're all concerned about and thinking about is like, okay, the trailer looks good. Is the movie actually going to be good? Is the entire universe that we're setting up here going to be good? And we can trust James Gunn. He's given us reason to trust him. Um, I'm one of the few people that didn't really like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which makes me kind of an anomaly. Um, but still, he's given us enough. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, I still think, is the best space opera movie ever. So I think he's given us enough to trust on and ride with Superman. It's kind of cool that it's nice seeing Nathan Fillion, getting to play a superhero, and he's been so close to the superhero genre. He was in that one movie back in the day where I can't remember what it was called, but he was like playing like a faux superhero or something. So it's nice seeing him and like playing an actual comic book superhero. But what is with the hairstyle? I guess that's Guy Gardner's style in the comics, but I feel like I would have changed it because it don't. I mean, maybe it's just because I watch a lot of The Rookie, and I see Nathan Fillion a lot, so seeing that hairstyle on him just kind of like, what? But anyway, it's probably not that big of a deal. Um, so I think that's Guy Gardner's hairstyle in the comics. And even in the comics, it's an interesting choice. So, pretty interesting too, because we already got confirmed that the Lantern series that's going to debut on HBO, which actually sounds like it's going to be pretty lit, will star Kyle Chandler, interestingly, as Green Lantern. And I can't remember his name, but he's from Rebel Ridge, and he'll be starring as John Stewart. That's an excellent choice. My wife and I watched Rebel Ridge a little bit ago. He is an excellent choice to play John Stewart. There was a lot of great actors, but I'm glad that he ended up playing him. I wish I knew his name off the top of my head. So it'll be interesting to see if Nathan Fillion shows up in that. But anyway, let's get back and dive into the trailer aspects of it. I recently watched the Man of Steel trailer as well, recently to kind of like compare the two. And you can already tell that James Gunn is completely going in a different direction with editing and the theme. You can tell this movie has a lot more hope. You can even tell just by the brighter, vibrant editing style and shot style. Like, if you compared this trailer to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel trailer, it's like it looks like someone put a gray effect on the entire thing, even trailer wise. It just looks very washed out and dreary, and that was the style that Zack Snyder was going for. Because if you look at 300, it's not really surprise, and then if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, how brightly edited and vibrant that one was, it's not surprise that this is what we get with James Gunn's Superman. So it doesn't feel like it's going to end up being cheesy though. It's definitely not going to be as dark as Man of Steel. It's probably going to land somewhere in between. And it doesn't look like it's going to be overly funny either, like Guardians was. It doesn't look like he's going for the humor part um, as heavily. And again, it's hard to tell from a trailer. Sometimes trailers will have jokes, sometimes they won't. Um, but I noticed that, and I do like that style that James Gunn's going for. I think that'll give us a good contrast. He's definitely trying to set this Superman apart from Man of Steel. There's a lot of Henry Cavill loyalists and Snyder loyalists out there, and I thought Henry Cavill was great as Superman. I didn't think there was anything wrong with his performance necessarily. I do think that he wasn't as strong of a Clark Kent as it looks like David Corenswet's going to be, because David Corenswet, I've seen him in a couple of things like Twisters and Look Both Ways, both good movies to see him in. and it feels like he'll kind of get that like awkwardness of Clark Kent. It feels like he'll capture that a little bit better. Henry Cavill is just too smooth. He's too smooth, too attractive, too confident to really capture the awkwardness that Clark Kent has sometimes. And that's complete compliment to Henry Cavill. But kind of like how people said like Andrew Garfield was just too attractive to be a Peter Parker, you know what I mean? Too good looking. So I think David Corenswet will kind of capture the both essences of that pretty well. So that's pretty exciting. We should get a more accurate Clark Kent in this one. I think my biggest one other thing that I noticed that I did like, there's almost no dialogue in this entire trailer. There's maybe two words. He says home. I think well he says crypto home, and then the little boy says Superman, which I think is very, very interesting. And I think it was the right choice for emotional reasons because I think this movie is supposed to garner really strong emotions out of its audience. And the strong electric guitar score going into that moving cinematic score, I think really helps drive that theme. And also, James Gunn making the decision like, I'm not going to have any dialogue in my introduction, I think was also a very powerful choice that's going to help bring this movie to the heights that it needs to be at, right? I think it's going to help it. Um, I think that like I was feeling so many emotions while watching it, and I was realizing it's because I'm not distracted by dialogue right now. And sometimes dialogue can elicit a strong emotional response, but I think James Gunn did a good job in just letting the music do what it needs to do. And that's a beautiful example of how powerful music can be and the right music in your score and trailer. And why it's so important. That's something that I don't think as a musician, a lot of us talk about AI and stuff. I don't think it's something AI is going to be able to replicate. And in all of the Man of Steel trailers, there was dialogue. Like even the first teaser, it was Russell Crowe, like kind of his voiceover talking about his son, amidst the cinematic score in the background. So this one, I think it was a bold choice to go no audio, no dialogue at all, and I'm here for it. I think that's something a lot of people. I've seen some other reactions. No, people haven't really been noticing or picking up on that. Um, but I do kind of like that because it gives us more time to kind of theorize what the story's going to be. Because honestly, this trailer doesn't tell me anything about the story. I mean, it tells me that a couple of things. Lois and Clark, obviously, she's gonna find out he's Superman because they kiss as Clark and they kiss as Superman, which again, not really much of a surprise because Lois always finds out who Superman is. So if you were like, "Oh my God, that's a spoiler," I mean, you just don't know anything about Superman and Lois. I mean, like, I think that's like if that was the spoiler that he had to give in the trailer, I think that's fine. It looks like he's gonna heavily go into their relationship too. Like maybe they're already in a relationship when the movie starts, which would kind of be interesting. But it seems like they were very close. Like there was a couple of scenes of them hugging, a couple of scenes of them kissing. And like in Man of Steel, Superman didn't kiss Lois until like the very end. Like that was kind of like the start of their relationship. So maybe halfway through it'll start, or it seems like him and Lois Lane are going to build their relationship even sooner. So I don't know if that means James Gunn wants to spend more time on it or less time on it by just saying they're already in a relationship. It could be either or, but we'll see. Um, Other plot points, obviously Lex Luthor is not a fan of Superman, as anyone who knows Superman will be able to tell. Um, I think Nicholas Hoult will do a fantastic job. I've never seen him. I haven't seen him in everything, but I've never seen him in something and been like, he was the problem with this movie. Now, his performance in X-Men Dark Phoenix left a lot to be desired, but I don't think that was his fault. I think that was Simon Kinberg. So I'll give him a mulligan on that one. And he wasn't the reason why Apocalypse wasn't that good. So his other performances, including in Mad Max Fury Road, which was an excellent movie, leave me excited for all the ranges that we could see of Lex Luthor from Nicholas Hoult. Like I feel like he's the kind of actor where James Gunn could be like, play it this way, and then be like, well, no, let's switch it up and do something else, and he could do it, just like that, and just switch up different because he's played the intellectual. And I like it too because he's got we can tell he's got the intellectual part down by playing Hank McCoy for so long, and then he still has that unhinged side which we saw as a war boy in Mad Max Fury Road. So I'm like, would a combination of that be Lex Luthor? I guess we'll see. And I'm really excited to see what that could potentially mean. Um, so I think those are the main things that I got from the trailer. introduction of Crypto the Superdog, you can definitely tell that this movie isn't going to be as dark as Man of Steel with Crypto the Superdog in it. Um, that's definitely it is more towards like the cartoonish side. Like if I was building a cinematic universe, I don't even know if I'd have Crypto the Superdog in it, even if I don't have time to introduce him. So we'll see. Um, we'll see. I don't know exactly how I feel about it because I don't know that much about Crypto, I guess. Um, I used to watch a lot of Young Justice as a kid, and so we would see him in there too. But again, Young Justice is a cartoon. And even Young Justice is pretty serious for a cartoon. So we'll see how it plays out. I just feel like the backstory for Crypto with the backstory for Superman, more than likely, I think he's just going to do a Spider-Man Homecoming kind of thing and just completely skip over Superman's backstory. Like in Spider-Man Homecoming, we'd seen it over and over and over again. So Marvel and Disney felt like we can just go straight to him fighting crime. We don't really need to hash how he got his powers, showing him how to learn how to use his powers. So I think there's a good chance that that's what we're going to get in this one. And I mean, it worked for Spider-Man Homecoming. It's just, I like I again, we all know how Superman got his powers and how he worked with them. And Man of Steel did spend a lot of time with Superman figuring out his powers. I wouldn't say an excessive, but Zack Snyder probably didn't have to spend as much time. Based upon all the characters and things that we have in there, it seems like we're completely going to skip over it. Um, which again would be fine, but it's also like this is a cinematic universe. Like, you kind of want to, when we get a chance to grow with the characters, like Iron Man was pretty slow paced, but by the time we got to the end of the universe, because we had taken all that time with him learning everything, learning his powers and all those things, it made us connect deeper to the character. So in Superman, like I said, this is supposed to be the start of the DCU, but it also seems like James Gunn isn't really concerned with building a whole universe. He's just concerned with making a good movie to set everything off on. Like this movie isn't supposed to establish. They said that this movie is not about establishing the universe, which is fine because Iron Man wasn't really about that either. Um, it just feels like one of those things where DC, like my honest prediction is DC's going to say it's the DCU extended universe. I think it's just going to be a collection of stories. And I don't think we're going to get a Justice League movie for 15 years or so. I think we're going to get Superman. We're going to get Superman 2. We might see some crossovers, but it's seeming more and more like the DCU will just, it'll be that in name and not really in universe. So we're not going to be watching Batman and wondering why isn't Superman getting involved. They're just going to seem very, very separate, which I mean, that's just kind of a result of messing it up the first time. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hard to move along from that. And like, I wish we were getting a connected universe where stories actually impact each other. But just based upon this, even when I look at the characters in the movie, that's my one nervous part for me for this movie and this whole universe is because James Gunn has stated repeatedly like we're not starting a new book, we're starting right in the middle. You're getting in and we already have Guy Gardner, we already have Hawkgirl, and we already have Mr. Terrific, all great characters that we'd love to see on screen. The problem is that's where I feel like the DC EU went wrong the first time, right? Because it felt like when we started the movies, we start in the middle of a book rather than them starting from scratch. Like we got Man of Steel and we got to see Superman's origin story. But by the time we get to Batman versus Superman, we already know that Robin has already died, Jason Todd has already died, which means he went through Dick Grayson and Jason Todd because Dick Grayson was the first Robin. So we skipped all of that, and now we're in the middle of him Batmaning, right? And even with Black Adam, like we got the origin of Black Adam, but we skipped right into here's this Justice Society with Hawkman, Cyclone, Wind, and Doctor Fate. And it was cool to see those characters together. I mean, the movie itself was all right. Um, but again, it like jumping right in and starting in again. How did Black Adam do at the box office? Poorly, right? It did really poorly. So did and obviously Batman vs Superman raked in, but because of the negative perception of that movie that directly related to Justice League, being so bad. Because again, Justice League, we just threw in a bunch of characters, Flash, Aquaman, in the middle of the story, like they had already been doing their thing. We didn't really get a chance for them to develop and breathe and allow them to. Um, and so again, like I think James Gunn is trying to circumvent that by saying, like, I'm not trying to set up a cinematic universe. We're just jumping right in with Superman. Focus on Superman. Don't focus on the whole DC universe. We're focusing on Superman. Because the first DC universe fell apart because they wanted to jump into the action so they could get to their Justice League really quickly when they didn't really need to do all that. But now it feels like he's going the opposite direction. Like we're going to jump into the action and just don't worry about the cinematic universe. We're not going to do the same kind of thing with Marvel where it like builds on each other. They're just going to kind of be a collection of stories and it's going to be DCU. That's what it feels like, the direction that he's going. Um, and I think it'll create a good movie. I don't know how it'll create a good universe, because again, in order for us to really feel and understand what these characters do and how they build on each other, especially in a cinematic universe where more and more characters come in, you gotta have some time to build on your character. Like we can see Iron Man, we can see Captain America in Avengers because we've seen so much of them. They were like the only character in their individual movies. Now he's sharing the spotlight with Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Isabela Merced as Hawkgirl, who again, great actors, love everyone who's playing those roles. But again, we're gonna see them and it's just gonna hop right into it. So and that can work for like Guardians and it can work for X-Men when you're like setting up a team. But this is Superman's movie. So those are my only trepidations in it. Like I like these characters and I like that they're going to be in it, but I also know this means that we're not going to get much of an introduction to these characters because there's not going to be enough time to develop the backstory of Superman, Guy Gardner's Green Lantern. Like, how did he get his ring? Hawkgirl, where is she from? What's her story? Mr. Terrific, how did he get? They're just going to kind of already be established superheroes. So, and again, that lets me know that he's not really building universe. He's just making stories. So again, still excited for the movie as a whole. I think like after recording this is like I'm not trying to down the entire thing. I think we just have fans have to kind of accept that like the MCU and even with the direction that's currently going on now is one of those things that probably will never be recreated. DC could have done it, but now that they messed it up, it's impossible for us to ever get back to that point. And somehow I as a fan have to let go of that, and I don't know how I ever am. But overall, just on a movie standpoint, it definitely looks good. I'm definitely going to go see it. It's going to be interesting watching it compete with Fantastic Four because Fantastic Four First Steps is going to be out and Superman is going to be out in July 2025. And both of them are some of the first superhero movies ever made that are being rebooted for the third time each, maybe the third or fourth time each. I think it's the fourth time for Superman, third time for Fantastic Four. But both are characters that have been, the anchor points for each of their respective franchises, DC and Marvel. So it'll be interesting to see how they clash at the box office. That'll be really fun to pay attention to. And I wonder if we're going to get a teaser for Fantastic Four anytime soon. So let me know your thoughts. What did you think about this Superman trailer? Are you excited for it? Are you nervous for it? Do you think James Gunn's going to do a good job? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments. And until next time.